Oh, no. I mean, just the contrast is so much worse.
Yeah, yeah, that's good actually. I have been Melbourne sometimes, and very beautiful actually the city, the atmosphere, everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
What time of year did you go?
I think I went last year.
Oh, nice. What?
When the summer, I think in December.
Oh,
I think
yeah. Okay, that's lovely. That's lovely. December, Melbourne in December, the weather's beautiful, but it's not too hot.
mm,
It's just right. It's a very nice time to visit Melbourne. Yeah. We've got a few questions to get through, but before that, I just wanted
yes,
to ask first. My shorthand is absolutely terrible. Would you mind if I recorded our conversation on our phone?
yes, yes.
Nothing will get published without you being able to
Yeah,
see your comments and being able to review your comments. So
yeah. Because
great,
sometimes
fantastic.
in my English sometimes difficult to, but I try the best.
uh, Thank you very much. Great. So it's just recording now. That should be grand. Okay. It also saves me from having to, head down, scribble away while we're talking so I can actually focus on the conversation. So yeah, the call is going to be in two parts. The first part is, looking at the CCUS industry or the CCS industry in Indonesia. Obviously, the technology is very nascent. It's very new. A lot of countries around the world are exploring the technology, and I'm just really interested to see the direction of travel for Indonesia. What are authorities doing? What's industry doing? Where's private investment going? And then the second part of the interview will be looking at the natural gas sector. I think
All right.
there's I've covered the Southeast Asian natural oil and gas scene for the better part of 15 years. And so obviously Indonesia's been part of that. And, it's quite a big deal seeing what's happening with the daily production targets. And I think I don't want to get too excited, but I think it's quite exciting. It's there have been a lot of production challenges and seeing some success there. I think is quite exciting. So I'd like to touch on that briefly. But yeah, so we're going to focus on CCUS first. Is there anything you'd like to ask me before we start?
Yeah, I think you already sent me some question.
Yes.
Actually, I try to make some answer
Hmm.
based on the question.
Yeah.
But I think beyond that, I think I try also to answer in case you have other question. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So the format you will ask me something and then I reply you automatically.
100%. I'm going to ask the questions I've sent you, and if we get through all of them, I may have some additional questions that pop up from your answers. So when you give your answers, that something may ping for me, and I might find that quite interesting. I may ask for some further information. But currently, in my own mind, the way I see it is that we'll go through the list of questions that I sent you,
Yes.
and then ideally at the end of each set of questions, there's always a final question that I like to ask, which is, I'm not an, I'm an observer. I'm not an insider for the industry, so it's very easy for observers to miss what's important through what they see. What they see is important. So I always like to give an opportunity to the people I speak with to just say, what you've asked is fine, but you may have missed this, and so I'm always looking for that. What did I miss? What was my blind spot? And so there's always that opportunity at the end of the interview to sort of like open it up and look at where are my blind spots? What am I not talking about that's important? Great. So the first question is, that first question I sent you was what makes Indonesia uniquely positioned to become a regional CCS hub, and how can it leverage this opportunity to benefit regional partners and attract international investors?
Yeah, I think if you see what Indonesian best, I think there are two things that, in my opinion, first is about the huge potential capacity.
Yeah.
Indonesia has a potential of become a CSA hub because it has large collection and distribution point of the carbon dioxide.
Right.
Yeah, to store it. I mean the many storage location in Indonesia because Indonesia is one of the oil and gas producer.
Yeah.
So Indonesia a lot have huge of the storage potential, both depleted reservoir or saline aquifer.
Hmm.
And the second things I think is about the strategic location. Indonesia in the middle of the close the proximity of the industry and country with the last industry, and they have the NDC commitment, and also they have a good system, ETS system, the carbon tax system, for instance, like Singapore, Japan, and Korea. I think the all industry in Japan, Korea need to develop the CCS project. One of location, of course, Indonesia. So the proximity between Japan, Korea, Indonesia is one of the second unique of the Indonesia in the business of the CCUS.
Yeah. Okay. And just in terms of, I guess becoming a regional hub, there are certain. I know Australia talked about it, and I always found Australia being like a CCS hub. Yes, Australia has depleted reservoirs, it has potential storage, but that location is a challenge. You know, so much further out from that central positioning that Indonesia has. But then the next part comes with transportation, I guess. How is Indonesia going to set itself up to, receive, say everything goes well, the storage centers, the storage hubs, complexes are developed, the technology progresses well. How do you address the challenge of becoming that central hub and becoming that destination in terms of like transportation of, you know, compressed carbon dioxide?
Yeah, actually, in terms of the technology, there are two. Of course, by using pipeline is normal, like oil and
Hmm.
gas. Secondly, transported by vessel, by ship from the area of the producer, something
Yeah.
probably the eastern part of Asia to Indonesia. So I think in terms of the location, Indonesia, we not only have an onshore, but also in offshore. So there are possibility closing the proximity from the area of the producer is better for us compared with Australia, compared
Yeah.
from the distance there. And also, I believe Australia also have the producer of the gas, LNG. So a lot of depleted reservoir. There's also good possibility become the storage of the
Yeah.
LNG, not LNG, the CCS or CCUS hub.
Yes. All right. Okay, great. Now, in terms of collaboration, I think that was my next question, which was basically how are Indonesian authorities, Pertamina, and international energy companies working together to build momentum around CCS? And what early successes or promising collaborations can you highlight? So it's a two-part, how are they collaborating? What specifics are they working on? How are they looking for tighter integration? And can you point to any early successes from that collaboration?
Yes, I think collaboration is very important, especially for Indonesia, because collaboration, government, state-owned enterprise like the Pertamina you mentioned, and international oil or energy companies is fundamental actually to enhance our competitiveness in this CCUS or CCUS business. Of course, it will cover about the financial incentive to support capex and opex because this business is very huge capex, very
Yeah,
high. Of course, this also to share risk and cost in development,
right.
sharing risk, and develop technology knowledge from the more advanced country.
Mm,
But I believe they are more have a better technology, so we can learn from them and developing CCS cross-border standard for international carbon market. So we would like
right.
to the cross-border carbon market between one country to the other country, from Indonesia to other countries. Yeah. I
Mm,
think this is the reason why we have to collaborate with the international energy company. So, for instance, right now in Indonesia, we have 19 CCS or CCUS project in Indonesia. And
right.
now Pertamina as a state-owned enterprise is very dominant. They have planned to have 7.3 gigaton of CO2 storage. 7.3 gigaton CO2
Wow.
storage.
Okay.
Yeah, ranging from the only the uh, simple one until the full chain as a strategic investor. So this is the intention for us actually become the CCU or CCUS hub, also to building our capacity, our experience, our knowledge, everything. So
Yeah.
among 19, Pertamina has 12 projects.
Wow. Okay.
Uh, nine still in the study, three in pilot project phase.
Nine in study. Okay. Um, in terms of, you said Pertamina had a goal of, delivering 7.3 gigatons of CCUS projects across 12 potential projects, three of which are in pilot, nine are in which had the studying research phase. What sort of timeline are we talking here? Do we have timelines for moving from research, those nine research projects to pilot projects? Do we have a sort of timeline that we're envisaging around moving those pilot projects into? I mean, do they transition purely from pilot projects into eventually becoming commercial projects, or are they just test potential before you move into the commercial phase? What does that look like in terms of the progress?
I think the timeline is not very near, yeah, of course, because
Okay.
yeah, in Indonesia we still need a fundamental regulation to accommodate this business. So, for instance, like you mentioned here before, you would like to get one example from this project. We have a project we collaboration with Exxon. We develop in the hub. We call it the Asri Basin. Asri Basin. This is the sea of the Sumatra Southeast Sumatra. The
Ah,
project,
Southeast
yeah,
Sumatra.
yeah. This actually collaborate start in 2021,
Hmm.
but after we have a study, looks like this is good prospect for us, promising prospect.
Uh-huh.
So because we can accommodate large amount of CO2 storage, around 2.9 gigaton, 2.9 gigaton. So almost one third of the total project of Pertamina CC or CCUS project. Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, this project one of the leading project among 12 project of Pertamina. Currently, the consortium Pertamina and Exxon submitted the carbon storage license area, carbon
Okay.
storage area, like
Uh-huh.
a walking area, to
Oh,
the,
great. Okay, got it. Yeah.
to Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. And next year, we expect to drill an appraisal well next
Right,
year.
okay.
And also we expect that the full injection will be happen in 2031.
2031.
Yeah, 2031. Yeah.
And so
So
what was that? You expect is that reaching commercial development in 2031? So you're going to be drilling an appraisal well next year. That's the expectation. So that
yes,
would be in 2026. And then do you expect to be fully completed the project? Is that the expectation around 2031 or?
yes,
Wow.
2031. I expect
By 2031, you'll be in a position to store 2.9 gigatons of CO2.
yes.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. That's okay. And so you would say that this is your most advanced project, yes? CCUS project.
Yes.
Yes. Um, it's where so this is one of the three pilot projects you talked about. And this is obviously the most advanced, the one that's progressing. I was wondering how how do the other two compare to that? Are they much further behind? Is this the sort of sole focus at the moment, or are they just how much focus has Pertamina given to the other two projects that's not the South Sumatran project with Exxon?
Yeah, I think the last two is quite slow,
Quiet and slow.
but I think also we keep try to monitor and tracking. So it depends also. Sometimes it can accelerate based on the discussion, based on the supporting from the partner, everything, or the government also. So
Yeah.
we cannot mention is what is it is like a race. It mention
Yeah.
this is fail, but
Yeah.
still progress.
Yeah. 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 Of course. Of course. So realistically, would it be fair to assume that your experiences in this project in the South Sumatran Sea, um, would it be fair to say that the experiences here and the success here will help guide the decisions in the rest of the projects?
Yes, yes. But also because this is large capacity in terms of the
Mm,
reservoir storage. The rest maybe not so big as the Asri Basin. So, but
yeah.
still something important for us because how we monetize this project. Because large storage, of course, maybe in terms of economic, it will be better position rather than the less storage capacity. But we don't know later on about the fundamental system in Indonesia, whether
Right, of
and
course.
also partner, also incentive from government and others.
Um,
Because
th-
this CCS or CCS project is the early state in Indonesia, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
compared
yeah.
with other country maybe. Yeah. We just started in 2000s, and then we still have a lot of something that we would like to convince the system,
Yeah.
yeah, the system, especially the regulations.
Right. Yeah, you said before that that Indonesia still needs fundamental regulations around CCUS, and you mentioned as well that yeah, you mentioned that there's a spread of capacities at the moment because you don't know what the economic landscape, economic environment for CCUS is yet because there still needs to be certain regulations. I guess where my mind goes automatically is just economies of scale. So my mind would automatically default to larger equals better, easier to fund. It costs more in terms of capex, of course, but there's more opportunity
Yes.
in terms of recouping
But
investment and return on investment. So but you're saying that that's not the case yet because you don't know what the landscape looks like because of incentives and what the regulatory frameworks will look like in the future.
yeah, actually, right now Indonesia has already some regulation because Indonesian now to drive this business because we also have demand of the net zero emission 2060. Right now we have three uh, regulation, three regulation focusing in the CCS or CCUS business.
Uh-huh.
First is this is quite new. The first one is the Presidential Regulation 14, 2024, just last year.
Okay.
This is about the implementation on CCS activity.
Okay.
And the second one is the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources Regulation 16, 2024 also, just last year.
Hey.
This is about implementation of carbon storage in carbon storage license area for the purpose of CCS activity.
Okay.
And the most recent regulation is government regulation number 28 this year, 2025.
Wow. Okay.
So it is about the implementation of risk-based business licensing. So Indonesia still needs several other derivatives regulation,
Okay.
derivative regulation, not only in energy sector but also in the trade, in the finance, because taxation, everything.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the derivative of this regulation is needed, but
yeah.
but the progress has been made in Indonesia because we compare with other countries, so they say except Singapore, maybe they are more mature.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
with other, we are leading actually. Indonesia is
Yeah,
leading.
yeah. Okay, great. I suppose the regulations you mentioned then, I would guess that they focus on um, how would I describe this? More on the downstream side of CCUS rather than the point of generation. I don't even know how to describe it. Maybe upstream. So where are there any regulations focusing on um, the demand side from industry? You know, so from polluters, as it were, like steel industry or cement makers, or is there anything around that that you know? Because I was speaking to a company in Australia that had a very ambitious CCUS play here in Australia that they eventually shelved because they said there wasn't enough demand for the capacity that they were creating to make it commercially viable. And they said that until the government puts in enough regulations to incentivize people generating CO2 to come and buy that capacity, then they were kind of stuck and that they'd be happy to revisit it once there was the demand to fill the capacity. Is there a similar situation in Indonesia, or is the government addressing that, or is the perspective to look towards foreign demand, like international demand for CCUS capacity? What's the yeah, I'm just trying to get an understanding.
Yes, yes, I understand. I think similar. In Indonesia now is the regulation more in the focusing on the storage,
Yeah.
the working area, and then how they transfer, how the incentive will be issued by the government. But the other thing, we have also developed other derivative regulation for the downstream side. You mentioned cement company, coal company,
Yeah.
refineries, or the petrochemical
Mm.
company. Yeah, how they trade the CO2 business become related to the tax carbon system. Now,
Mm.
this is something that in Indonesia have must develop this system. So Indonesia has to create kind of the ecosystem from upstream to downstream.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the value chain of the CC or CCUS business.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, great. Ecosystem. Okay. Um, just a habit, even though I've got the recorder on, I'm still taking notes because
It's
it's the
okay, it's
way
okay.
the way. Okay, I'm going to move on to my next question, which is given that CCS technology is relatively new sector, what strategies are stakeholders in Indonesia putting in place to ensure they can effectively respond and adapt as early projects evolve? I guess this kind of goes back to what we were talking about in the South Sumatran project with Exxon. You know, how are stakeholders such as Pertamina, ExxonMobil, how's industry preparing to evolve and adapt to such a new technology as it finds its feet?
Yeah, I think if we talk about the technology, I think we have to collaborate. This is similar what I answered in the past
Yeah.
question. A study through collaboration, conducting the CCS development feasibility study with the partner, both as a value chain partner or strategic investor, including we do a kind of benchmarking technology to accelerate our capacity, kind of the capacity buildings, yeah. And then also about regulatory development, policy regulation regarding CCS and CCUS must also stressing to support development CCE and CCUS, not only in the working area of oil, but also in the other area, as long as try to reduce the carbon emission from other industry. Not only in I mean, not only in the oil and gas area, but also other,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, open area, something like that. And also, I think is about how we develop the funding, because how we
Yeah.
invite the bank lenders attraction that can offer the competitive need rates. Sometimes we call it the green financing, something like that. Yeah, because
Yeah.
this is very important for us because the project is very high cost, high
Yeah.
cost. Yeah, and
Mm.
there is still certainty. There is no experience yet. So sometimes bank, because there is no track record, there is no precedent,
Yeah.
they're reluctant to lend the money to the project. This is something that how we invite lenders to come to the projects.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Thanks for, yeah, okay. Bu- 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 How how do you overcome that reluctance though, given how new the sector is? That's sort of where I'm wondering. You raised the issue of, banks are reluctant because it's an unproven technology. There isn't that um not unproven, but like, at scale. It's unproven at scale. Yeah.
Mm.
So there's that frontier feeling to the sector that can leave financiers, investors, banks reluctant to be exposed to that risk. How do you how do you win them over, basically, given that we're still what 2031 is the sort of like timeline that we're looking to complete that project with Exxon. That's like a big project, and it will do a lot to assuage, investor jitters in 2031. But for the sector to get momentum, you're going to need money now. So how do you overcome that investment reluctance?
Yeah, I think if we see from the lender side,
Yeah.
they want to lend the money if they are pretty sure the money will be full repaid to them.
Yes. Yeah.
How they have the assurance about that, yeah, assurance about
Yeah.
the payment to them. Of course, they will do everything as a risk mitigation process
Yeah.
and to the collateral. And I believe for the project, because still, like I mentioned, this is a new one, no precedent, everything. So involvement of the government is very important.
Mm.
How the government probably support, not fully guarantee for the project. I think
Yeah.
support, give something like what is understanding or yeah, kind of support. Yeah, not because if we ask guarantee, I believe government organization doesn't want to give the guarantee.
Yeah, 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 of
And
course.
how to make this is process the project become a collateral for the lender. I think a lot of things that we would like to make the comfortable of the bank when
Hmm.
they would like to lend the money to the project.
Yeah,
So involvement of the government is very important.
yeah,
Invite the banks.
got it. But not guarantees per se, but maybe just regulatory support, maybe making approvals and applications simpler, just making the
Including,
whole
yeah,
process simpler.
including that, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
permitting
okay. No
also.
guarantees, but okay. These Okay, great. Okay, my next question. Again, this is actually we're actually getting back into that regulatory and policy support we've already touched on. Um, so we talked about that there were three. So I asked how are current regulatory framework and incentives accelerating CCS development in Indonesia? And can you share examples of those that have already shown promising results? So we talked about that currently there are three regulations that came in within the last year, effectively. Two from 2024, one from 2025. But we're also talking about how your project with ExxonMobil predates those regulations. You first started that on that in 2021. So I guess if we look at it through that context and that background, it kind of it adds weight to the question of how are current regulatory frameworks and incentives helping accelerate the CCUS sector in Indonesia. Is there any is there any insight in that, or is it too early to say that the regulations are too young to actually draw any insight from it? Or
Yeah, I think what we have regulation right now is like a fundamental regulation. We
yeah,
need more regulation, derivative regulation, and other regulation. But what we have right now with the three regulation is good enough for start point. For instance, like our Ministry and Energy and Mineral Resource Regulation number 16, 2024. This is about how we manage the working area.
Okay.
So right now, because of this regulation, already there are 3 carbon storage permit area submitted to the Ministry Energy and Mineral Resource, including the Asri Basin with the Exxon. Because of this regulation, already
Oh, right.
three,
So this
three,
regulation triggered submissions, 3
yes,
submissions.
yes.
Wow. Okay. Right. Okay, that's very encouraging. You said that you said it's fundamental regulations now. Um, uh, these 3 fundamental regulations are good enough to encourage companies to make a start. You mentioned that one of the regulations from 2024, I think it was Regulation 60, that it has already encouraged 3 permit applications, working area applications. And the question I have are those applications, were they all from Pertamina's projects? Are they the 3 pilot projects you're talking about,
Yeah,
or
one of them is from Pertamina.
one of them from
Yeah,
Pertamina, the one you talked about?
that's correct.
And because you said there's 19 CCUS projects in Indonesia in total,
Yes,
12 are from Pertamina, so that means 7 are non-Pertamina.
yes,
Two of the applications, so 2 pilots. So that would suggest that there are 5 other non-Pertamina projects in Indonesia. They're the study phase.
yes, yes, something like that.
Okay, so there are 2 pilots and 5 at study. Okay, great. In
I
terms
can provide you
of,
more detail later on.
what's
I can
that?
I can provide you more detail.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Yeah, that just really helps me get my head around, what's happening. You said that there are 3 applications with the government. Um, One of the things that I noticed that the government has been talking about over the last for a long time, yes, but I would say more aggressively over the last 2-3 years was slashing red tape, slashing the amount of time it would take for permits and regulations. So basically, from point of submission to the point of approval for the oil and gas industry, need to become faster. They need to be less red tape. Given that that's the mentality in the oil and gas industry, do these regulations that we have now, do they support faster approvals? So you've said that there are 3 projects that have been submitted for approval. Are you expecting quick turnaround on the approval process for those projects? Basically, I'm trying to understand, how efficient is the governmental process in reviewing and approving applications?
Because this is looks like similar with the oil and gas business
Mhm.
in terms of CCL, because similar with the injection something to the reservoir,
Yeah.
through the drillings, through the appraisal, to the geologist reviews, everything. It's similar with oil and gas. Of course, the permitting approval license is similar with the oil and gas business.
Uh-huh.
I believe a lot of complaint actually in Indonesia, because a lot of the approval not only in the uh, uh, level of the national but also in the local area approval.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. This is something make difficult and make a slow progress of the project. So, but
Okay.
in terms of that, actually government have the program also through ministry try to manage this issue, become one of the program how to simplify a
Yeah.
process approval, and also make a one door policy of approval, yeah, especially in infrastructure,
Hmm.
because it's also to challenge the issue to build infrastructure. When we talk with the gas later, this is very related with the approval, licensing,
Hmm.
and permitting. Yeah,
Okay.
similar
So
with the gas infrastructure. Yeah.
So it's similarly to gas infrastructure, the government has tried to implement a one-door policy
Yes.
for approval so that there isn't that drag between getting federal approval and then also
Mm.
local and all the way down. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So So your expectations for approval for your project are, do you expect to receive approval this year, next year? Because you said next year you're expecting to drill. Do you expect to receive approvals this year that then pave the way for drilling next year, or?
Yeah, of course. Now it's already mid-year of the 2025. If
Yeah.
they like to plan to drill and mobilize all the equipment,
Mm.
drilling rigs, everything, they need actual approval right now today. But
Right
it will
now.
come out very soon. But I
Yeah.
think the best 2025 it will be good for them to have this approval of the
Okay.
submission. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, your plans are pending approval. So for you to proceed with the drilling program next year would require sooner rather than later.
Yes.
Fantastic. Great. Um, we talked about that. Are there any additional measures or incentives being considered that could further grow CCS support and help overcome emerging challenges? I guess this really comes down to, against the background of what we've talked, you've spoken a couple of times about that we've got fundamental regulations now, they're good enough to start. We need derivative regulations to help this sector grow. And I guess, is there an order of priorities that you would like to see in those regulations? So, do you think focusing on governmental support around green financing? Is there something that might be done in the carbon market to
Mm.
stimulate demand for capacity?
Yeah.
What do you
Good
think
point.
is the sort of like the order of priorities that will
Mhm.
help the CCS market grow more quickly in Indonesia?
Mm. Yeah, I think if we see the what kind of the incentive being considered by the government to support further growth of the CCL or CCUS business, I think the incentive for emitters and also to operators. So again, CCS cost is currently still very high.
Right.
It means that the support is needed in the form of incentive, tax, tax and non-tax, especially for the issuer and operator, so they can be interested in the CCUS or CCUS project.
Yeah.
Second thing is about the CO2 cross-border business,
Hmm.
carbon tax regulation and emerging trading system ETS abroad and more developed. I mean, abroad is more developed than Indonesia.
Okay.
So cross-border CO2 transport and trading permit are required to extract value from the potential of the business.
Mm.
So, and then the third one is the fiscal incentive and strategic partners.
Hmm.
The development of this CCS or CCUS facility involve advanced technology and high capex, high cost.
Hmm.
So fiscal incentive and strategic partner, of course, is needed for the construction of the facilities to share the risk and support the economic of the project.
Mm.
Because again, this is also to attract lender to come if we partner with very reputable company, for example, like Exxon, because they are proven company. And then the last one is the about again about the permitting and licensing,
Yeah.
ease of the licensing. So ease of the related licensing in the entire value chain of the CCS and CCUS development, starting for the implementation of the subsurface study,
Mm.
facility construction, and then after commercial operation. So I think that's all the incentive that consider later how
Got
we
it.
develop this business in Indonesia.
Yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, okay. And then I guess the last question are I guess that's already been asked and answered earlier, but I'll ask it again anyway. So, over the next 3 to 5 years, what key milestones should we expect to see in Indonesia's CCS sector, and what outcomes would signal success to you? You talked about already next year. Pertamini's hopes to drill the assessment well with a timeline of, if all things go well, you get appropriate approvals, etc., etc. We've got another 15 minutes in the meeting, but hopefully, if we, I'll ask my question first. Then we'll address the time left on the meeting.
All right. Okay.
So yeah, so you mentioned the assessment well. Next year, timeline of 2031 for project completion. That's all. As long as all goes well, you get your government approvals on time, etc., etc., etc. So that's the timeline. Is that, like you said, that's a third of that one project represents a third of the target capacity Pertamina has. Does that by definition then mean that this is Indonesia's biggest project in development?
Yes.
So this is Indonesia's biggest project. This is its sort of flagship project.
Yes, yes.
So I guess then, what does success look around like for you with this project? Because I think this project, correct me if I'm wrong, but to me it sounds like a lot of the country and industry and investors will be looking at this one project for, confidence signals, like this is what they'll be looking to get an understanding of. Where is Indonesia going with CCS? So what are outcomes from this project that would signal success to you?
I think the signal success of this CCL or CCUS business in Indonesia is if there is one project into the commercial state.
One project.
Full injection of CCUS in Indonesia. Yeah. Not in the study state, not in the pilot project, but in the commercial state, I mean the full injection.
Yeah.
So we expect that the Asri Basin belong to Pertamina, and also probably the second one of the biggest is a Masela project. You know the Masela project is a.
I do not know.
Impacts in the LNG project in the Maluku, South Maluku.
Yes.
This is LNG project.
Yes.
Also expected will be on stream 2030 somethings. So this is, I will give you the later date plan. But this is also a project that we need to go to the commercial state. Yeah. Automatically, when they produce LNG, they will release some CO2 and they capture and they store it there. So this is something can be happen by the existence of a complete regulation, not only the fundamental one, but also the derivative. Because of course we cannot just store it, but there is no value, there is no income for the project. It's not a foundation just receive the cost, but there is no receive the income. So it will be happen if we have a complete regulation. Probably derivative regulation on the CO2 transportation, monitoring, CCS inside and outside oil and gas working area, and regulation cross-border carbon trading, and continued with the CCUS and CCUS ecosystem.
Yeah. Okay.
So regulation and the ecosystem happen.
Yeah, that's it makes total sense. Okay. The last question for CCS, and I don't know how much time you have today because I don't obviously don't want to.
Free time already allocated for you today.
Oh, fantastic!
Until lunchtime.
Okay, fantastic. Because I would like to discuss the natural gas sector as well. So one thing I need to do, because obviously I'm using a personal Teams account, so I need to actually create a new meeting and send it to you. So I'll do that shortly so that we don't get cut. So if we get cut off, we not if we will get cut off, we can jump back on another Teams call and continue the gas discussion. The last question was, we've got 6 minutes. In all my questions here, I think we've covered a lot of ground. The regulatory outlook for Indonesia, projects in the works, what success looks like, et cetera, et cetera. But are there any areas that I've not asked about that you think are important and I haven't covered?
I think we talk about regulation, we talk about the technology, we talk about the partnership. I think for time being, we cover all the value chain of the business.
Fantastic. Okay, great.
Let me remember again, but I think it's already enough.
Yeah, great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, I think because the chat's going to automatically end in the next 5 minutes. So before that happens, I'm going to effectively leave this meeting, set up a new meeting, and send you an email with an invite to the new meeting. Does that work?
Okay.
Fantastic. Okay.
How many minutes? 5 minutes or 10 minutes?
It will literally take me, let's say at most 5 minutes. So I'll leave, I'll set up the new meeting in Teams. And once it's all set up, I'll send you an invite straight away and we can just jump straight back on and continue the conversation about natural gas.
In case of there is need to information about this CCUS, I will provide you later.
Fantastic. Yes, that would be fun. Yeah, so any information you can provide after the fact, that's obviously fantastic. Just means the accuracy of the things that I say is absolutely spot on. And yeah, really helps. But for now, I'll jump off.
Okay.
And I'll start a new meeting and I'll speak to you again in a few minutes.
Around 5 minutes, okay.
All right, Brian, thank you.
See you there, okay.